Today on the Denver Sports Podcast, we've got the man behind the viral Travis Hunter Heisman photo, Ryan Greene, in the house to give us an inside look at everything it takes to be the best photographer in the Denver area. That's all coming up on the Denver Sports Podcast. What's up, everyone? Live from the Toyota Lounge. It is the Denver Sports Podcast here, just above the DNVR bar. I am Christian Saez, joined by the man, the myth, the legend behind.
Oh, boy.
It is a myth because no one sees you very much since you're behind the screen. Yeah, there we go. Some horns and everything. Welcome to the podcast, Ryan Greene.
This is great.
I'm so happy to have you, man. You're kind of flying high these last few weeks.
It's been a fun week, yeah.
And by flying high, I mean literally you have been all over the country.
Literally flying under the influence.
Yes.
No, as I get my energy back in me. No, it's been great, dude. Man, I went from like Nuggets Media Day last week, then we went to Orlando for CU, then I was in Dallas for Mavs Media Day. It's been pretty fun.
Yeah,
Jokic, Travis Hunter, Luka Doncic. It's been all right.
I was going to say some big photos along the way, and so that's
mainly Travis Hunter.
Yeah, mainly Travis Hunter. He is a pretty big story, so that's what we're here to talk about. Ryan Greene has been with us for a couple years now, right? 2 years? 2 years?
I am in my third.
In your third year, okay. So past 2 years, and I mean, you cover literally everything from all of our Denver sports teams, our now ALLCITY teams. So we wanted to give fans kind of an inside look at like what it looks like to get behind the scenes with some of these guys and take some of these iconic photos, vlogs, all of the above. We'll start with the photo that everyone saw. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's the photo that put you on the map, but let's say that.
I would. I'll do it.
It's the photo that put you on the map this last week. Travis Hunter, we do have a clip of that, or a photo of the iconic picture that you took of Travis Hunter hitting the Heisman Trophy look. First of all, walk me through that. What was it like in that environment in Florida? The hurricane was happening around the area, chaos all around, and then you were able to snap that photo. Like, walk through everything.
That's what made it worth it.
Yeah.
Bro, Orlando was rough. Very humid. It had rained so much, like, just right before the game. And so I was just sweating the whole freaking time. It was kind of later in the game, I think, third quarter, maybe fourth. I can't remember exactly. But I was actually mad that I missed his interception because I had no idea why the UCF quarterback was even throwing that direction. When I'm usually taking pictures, you kind of have to predict to like where the play is going, and I'm like, I never think they're going to Travis's side because why the hell would you do that? So when I actually saw him do it, and then. Again, it was even a ball that I didn't think Travis would get to, but of course he did because he's an insane freak of nature. I got him like falling. His back was turned. I was like, oh, I missed the shot. And then he got up and started running my way. I was like, oh, hang on now. Something's going to happen. I thought he was going to do a dance or something, like a...
He's done a couple of those.
Right, like Kai Cenat told him to do something. Maybe he had a new dance. And it was also a little early in the season, so I didn't think I would be seeing a Heisman pose exactly. But sure enough, he ran right at us, ran right at me, and I was luckily just in position to where it was like just right there.
Well, part of being a successful photographer is being able to capture the moment, because it's one thing. I mean, I would make a bet that there were probably 20 other photographers in your general vicinity. You happened to be the one that not only captured the photo, but then got the picture out into the public's eye within seconds. I've always wondered that. Like, how do you get that out onto social media as quickly? Do you have like a connection between your phone and camera?
Yes, I do have that. That one wasn't working in Orlando because usually during games, you have no cell service on the field whatsoever because everyone is taking it above you.
Sure.
and the Wi-Fi really doesn't work. So, especially in that stadium, and I'm not the bounce house was awesome. It was a great environment. It's pretty plain and kind of boring. And when they were having Wi-Fi and cell phone issues, I was like, yeah, of course, that is not anything. So
on brand.
The funny part is that like, thankfully, like the live sports are like 90 seconds to 2 minutes ahead of live television when you broadcast, and you can see this, especially if you follow like all of the like Denver Broncos media or all of the Buffs media. You can kind of tell the people at the stadium are tipping plays maybe even before you see them, to the point
and
where
streaming is even further behind that. So you're like behind. 7 minutes back on streaming.
So he hits the Heisman pose and then runs back, and then I'm like, oh shit, I gotta run. And so I was taken off. I had to get back to my computer, which was down the tunnel like halfway. And so I was like, no, that one needs to get out immediately. And so, yeah, that's like, but normally I do have like connections to my phone. When I'm at Nuggets games, I'm literally sitting at a table with my computer in front of me. So if I get a shot, it's literally out the camera into the computer, and I can have it up probably as fast as people are seeing the actual highlight.
How many times in your career have you snapped a photo like that where, like you said, you were like, oh shit, I need to get this out now. Like, this is going to be a viral photo.
So it's so tough because I had a bunch of those photos for the Nuggets championship game, right?
Sure, of course.
Right. It was like when Jokic brought his daughter up to the table, when Murray was crying, I was like, these are all so good, but like I can't leave and do it because I don't want to miss the next one. There's some of them right there, and so it's just like those ones. I'm like, oh my god, okay. I'm really trying to remember which ones like I saw that I'm like, no, that one I need to go back and find. But not many like Travis's where, again, because it's like the Heisman pose.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot
also unexpected.
Yeah. It would be like if Shohei like called his shot at Coors Field, right? Yep. It's like, it's iconic in itself, and a guy that is in the running for it and doing things that no college football player has done before. It was just so cool to add that. And because like you see in here, like most of them are just, you're hoping to get whatever the action is. And if it turns into a cool shot like Jokic dunking on Anthony Edwards, like that's great. But when you get the Travis Hunter doing the Heisman, you're like, oh boy, all right. That needs, people are, like I'm sure people were freaking out. You could go see RK and Jake, all caps. Oh my, he hit the Heisman. It
Lots of all caps,
going wild. And, but the funniest part is like, I'm for DNVR. Like I sent it out thinking it was a good picture, but I didn't think Bleacher Report would be retweeting it and like all that stuff. Like Travis Hunter was like literally shown it by Bucky, I think, after the game. Like that's so wild.
Yeah,
that's the wild part. Like it's cool that people like the picture, but for it to like do that was just. You got to mute the mentions.
I got to say that I feel like over the weekend we had our final game for the Rockies at home at Coors Field. It was Charlie Blackmon's last game. I kind of hit your level because I took a video with my cell phone from the press box of Charlie Blackmon getting gifted a truck, and MLB on Fox retweeted me and used my video. So I might be on the same level as you.
You're getting there, my guy.
We're taking baby steps.
No, that's great.
But as I mean, in all seriousness, though, as a fellow, camera guy within myself, not at the same level that you are, but love, enjoying the background of photography. And there was a day in my life where at one point I wanted to go to college for graphic design, and then I realized that was an impossible career to make a living on unless you work for DNVR. Yeah. But I was going to say, I noticed this because Shohei Ohtani was in town the other day with the Dodgers, and the entire, it was an entire media base of probably 30 plus, mostly Japanese media members coming with Shohei to Coors Field to cover Shohei, and the amount of cameras and camera lenses that were in the press box. I mean, we're talking, 200 to 500 millimeter lenses.
They're zoomed in.
They were major zoom lenses. I, first of all, have never seen you using a camera or lens like that. You seem to go kind of more traditional cameras, a lot more like smaller lens, focal point, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I like, if I can, I really like capturing the actual scene. So I like wide angle more than a lot of people, because at least for me, like when I was watching when I watch like football games or basketball games and you see a dunk, the actual first thing I want to see is the slow-mo reaction of the fans reacting to it behind. All of them jumping up and down, celebrating all this. It's always so cool to see the fans' instant reaction to the thing. And so that's like, I love when I get the fan shot of everyone going nuts after an Aaron Gordon dunk, something like that. But also like, I'm getting better, but like the more zoom you have, you really have to be good at knowing where the play is going. And baseball's the toughest, because you can't follow the ball off the bat like immediately. Like you have to. Maybe some people do, and maybe they've gotten better at it. But like you kind of have to wait and see where the ball is going in order to try and get that action. And it's. So I don't like getting too zoomed in, and then also it's weird that like I'm using like a Sony A6400, which is phenomenal. It's like it's a great all around camera for me. It takes great video, great pictures that are just fine, like good for me. Like I know that there are ones that have 12,000 pixels, and the ones without even like the shutter now, where they're just literally the frames of time. It's just so wild. But like, that Travis Hunter picture, I'm like, like I'm always like, oh, maybe I need like a way more expensive camera and a better lens and all that stuff. And then that happens. I'm like, what? All right, whatever. Just like, let's get the picture.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's about capturing that moment. And I do think, especially in a sport like football, though, where you have an idea of where the play is going, but you don't necessarily know in what way you're going to capture that moment. It's so important to be prepared in every different aspect of that. Like, you're not only your focal length, your zoom, your framing, all of that kind of stuff. And then to be able to get the shot. And we've all heard like wedding photographers, taking pictures of the bride and groom coming down the aisle. And it sounds like, a little machine gun with how quickly that thing is going off. So we know technology can get us going, but you have to also have the physical talent as a human being, as a photographer, to make that shot happen. I'll go back for you, like going back, kind of in the early stages of your career. When was the moment that you started to realize, like, I kind of have a knack for this? I'm seeing things that other people, if you put a camera in some random person's hand, maybe they're not seeing that same thing that I'm envisioning. I mean, when did you start realizing that was like something for you?
Oh man, well, honestly, it's because I was really doing videography for a majority of my career before that. I wasn't really taking like still pictures until maybe I started working at DNVR, where I was like, you know what, let's start like really trying to do this. But I don't know. It's just like, one, I think you have to get bored with your job to get better at it.
Yeah.
'Cause like, I've been to all the Nuggets games. I've been to every single level, every single section, any angle you can get, I've tried to shoot it. And that's what I'm always like, you're always hunting for it. And that's what I say. Like, I'm like hunting for the next shot. Like when you were talking about how many like cameras were there for Shohei, like I would want to be as far away from all of them as possible, because it's like, no, dude, I want my own angle. Like I want people going, wow, that didn't even like see that angle yet. That type of stuff. I want to make sure that it's like, no, that's my shot. I know that's my shot because I was the only one standing there doing that angle right there. And so it's really like, again, repetitions. If it wasn't for me going to football games and knowing, okay, I really like when I need the CU Buffs coming at me no matter what. Like the defense needs to be facing me and the offense needs to be going at me down the field, because then if Travis Hunter intercepts it, I also know that they like going to their sideline. So I try and stay near their sideline because they'll react with coaches, players, all that stuff. Had he done it on the opponent's sideline, maybe he intercepts it and just runs back to the other sideline and doesn't do the Heisman post. Like, we don't know. So it's just like, again, it's you also have to like know sports, the sports you're watching, right? Because then you if again, like, I can't tell you how many like times just if you're watching like, oh man, when I was shooting Air Force Colorado, man, triple option I was not used to. And just like, you just see movement when you're on the field. It's just movement in front of you.
A lot of jerseys.
Right. And so like, you really have to kind of like, especially you got to know what a play action looks like. You got to see how other players around them are reacting to it, and if the quarterback rolls out, it's a lot of stuff like that where you just have to, again, see it a bunch of times to actually know, like, okay, I think this is probably going to be it. When they start getting in the red zone, you're like, maybe they throw a fade to Travis. Maybe I want to get closer to the corner or something like that. But I will say most of it's luck. Like, let's be real. Like, as you know, there's a lot of shots that I don't tweet that are just of them on the other side where it's just kind of out of focus, and you're like, that one didn't really work.
Yeah.
But
you're getting your lighting right on those ones,
Exactly.
Yeah, well, and I do. You made the kind of comparison. It's like some of it's luck, some of it's preparation. It's like hunting. Like you go out there and you're like, okay, well, I can prepare myself as much as I possibly want to go shoot this deer coming down the on this valley. But if the deer doesn't decide to go walk out in front of me, I'm not getting anything. Like no matter how prepared I am. So you still have to have that moment and that awareness of the moment. So I do want to ask though, in just a moment when we come back from this first break, I want to ask if there is one single photo that is your favorite that you've ever taken. So I'll give you a moment to think about that. We'll talk about that when we come back. But I want to take a moment, recognize one of our sponsors. That is our friends over at Empire Today. Because with Empire Today, if you're looking to redo your flooring, get a new floor, anything like that, you got to go check out our friends over at Empire Today because they are truly the best in the business. They actually redid our floors here in the studio, and we know how much our producers love to just jack up this studio in here. I mean, they're moving things left and right. We've got guys tackling each other in between shows. Like, it is absolute chaos in here. And these floors are still solid. And they did a great job getting us set here in studio, but they can also get you set in your home, which is a little bit more personal for you. I know Marissa and I, we're getting ready to, maybe look at moving into a new house in a couple years or a year or so. A floor is a big project for us as we get ready to move out of a house. And so Empire Today, they've got this really cool thing called the Virtual Floor Designer. It's a great way. You take a picture of your living space, and it actually shows you what a new floor would look like. You can kind of pick and choose your colors and all of that kind of stuff based off of the scene that you'd see in the moment in your actual home. That's a really cool design feature within the Empire Today way. But either way, it doesn't matter what it is, Empire Today has you covered there. So check them out. You can schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners of this show can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code DNVR. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DNVR for details. Also got to give a shout out to our friends over at Bet365 because at Bet365, we do not do ordinary. They don't do ordinary. We don't do ordinary. No one's doing ordinary here. And with Bet365, if you're using code DNVR365 when you sign up, you can choose between either a bet and get offer or a first bet safety net offer. They've got a bunch of great deals over on the Bet365 app. And this is a great time to get into sports betting here because you've got football. You've got basketball that's right around the corner. You've got hockey, first preseason game of the year last night. We're not going to talk about the score for the Avs, but it's still almost hockey. It is great time to be a sports fan. MLB season still in swing here in the postseason. So there's a lot of great opportunities to get involved in the sports betting world. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up. Check out DNVR and Bet365 and see why it's never ordinary with Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Best photo, most memorable photo you've ever taken.
Oh, man. Okay, so I sent Alyssa some of them. I think my favorite one I've ever taken so far has been... it's the David Roddy photo, Alyssa. That one. It was after they beat Boise State, I think, to win conference or something like that. They rushed the court. And that one, again, it's like I want to capture the scene. And so, like, just to see the player, reacting like that, surrounded by everyone, it's just so cool to, like, just see that kind of thing and see the humanity of sports, not just the game itself.
Can we also get technical here for a moment? Because again, we've got two photography nerds here. Like the framing of everything, not only the fact that Roddy's taller than everyone else, so he stands out as the subject. Everyone else fades into the background. Exactly. But then you've got the stands kind of circling the backside of that photo. The point of focus kind of going down the barrel. Incredible.
I know. That one's one of my favorites.
I've never seen that one, so that I'm reacting to that live. Like that's awesome.
No, that one's so great. Then So no, that one's one of my favorites. I also love the Bones Highland one, Alyssa. This was the first one I think I had ever had. I was like, no, I actually need to print it.
That's
and again,
sick,
it was like after, I think he had like 4 threes against Golden State in the playoffs. And again, he just hits the pose right there in the middle. And again, I love the crowd around it. It's just so cool to just see everyone freaking out. You know, if you really like zoom in on some of them, you can see like Warriors fans, sad Warriors fans.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
the hands on heads.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
Yep. I do want to respond to a comment, or have you respond to a comment from Big Teasy. He asks, you know, have you ever had a near miss iconic photo due to blur objects in the way? Have you ever had that photo where you look at it and you're like, oh, that would have been the one?
Yes. So last year it was CU Nebraska, I believe, and Shedeur Sanders was running into the end zone and he dove, and I had the Superman photo. He was like parallel to the ground, ball out, and the ref's feet right in the middle, like right in the middle. You couldn't see number 2. You couldn't see. Like Shedeur was in focus. It was it was so hurtful. I was so upset that I didn't get that, because that was like, I had it. I saw him doing it, and it was just a pair of legs get in the way. So yeah, no, those are frustrating. And again, like I unfortunately like forget about the ones I miss because I just get mad about it. Like I just like,
and you're also like a lot is going on, so it's like you keep moving forward.
Yes, you get mad and then you don't want to miss the next one. So
I'll make a comparison because, you know, I come from a play-by-play background. I still do play-by-play, and it's like when there's an iconic moment in a game. Even if it's a smaller game, you know, last week doing Northern Colorado football, which is not a lot of iconic moments going on there, but they did have a touchdown, just one, and so you have your moment of I'm pumped up, and in that moment, the guy's jersey got bunched up. They had been switching back and forth between running backs, and the running back numbers were really similar, and their jersey got bunched up. I actually called it on the other running back,
right?
Because the numbers looked flipped.
Of course.
And you realize it the second he gets into the end zone. But it's like, you know, that one moment of excitement that, you know, would probably be a highlight that would be shown, you know, later, that you'd hold on to, whatever. And you just happen to like get the name wrong, or you stumble on a word. And it doesn't happen very often. But when it does, it just pisses you off like nothing else.
When you try and like switch the phrase mid-sentence and you say half of each. Yeah, it's just...
You're trying to frame up, you're trying to crop it in post, like, maybe I can crop this in. No. It's just, that's the way it goes sometimes. That's the way it goes. But, you know, for professionals, it doesn't happen as many as, you know, as people think. It is, it's less than you would think, but it does happen every once in a while.
The great thing is there's always the next one.
Yes.
Right? Like, I just put this one up. The Travis Hunter.
Oh, the ball getting knocked out.
I actually broke some bobbleheads putting that up. I'm really sorry. I'm gonna have to. I did. It was not my fault. It was really bad. I will have to replace them. But anyways,
she will write you up live on air.
I deserve it, man. It was such a dumb moment. But anyways, so yeah, I get the shot of Travis, you know, causing the fumble against Baylor, and like, what an insane college football game that was. Like, I thought, okay, cool, that was probably the shot of the year.
I was going to ask that. So, like, you're there at these iconic Denver sports or Colorado sports moments, whether it be Nuggets championship, you know, Avs Stanley Cup, you know, CU anything. And it's interesting because I think, you know, for a lot of the fans and viewers watching at home, you would give anything to be sidelined at a CU Nebraska game or whatever CU Baylor game or whatever that looks like. And you get to be there, but I can speak from my experience, and I'm sure you'd feel the same. It doesn't always feel like that when you're working it.
No. In fact, I have to sometimes go back and like watch the television broadcast itself, because there's like parts of the game that if you're there, you don't see on camera. And then there's also parts of the game they talk about that you don't see or hear about when they talk about. I will say I have shot every level section, every field, courtside, all that stuff. If I could choose to watch the game anywhere, it would be on my couch at home with HD television. Like, that's the best. They have the score. They have the first down markers. It's great. That's the best part. And the other thing is, like, especially like Game 5 of the Nuggets series against the Heat, I was like, you're nervous, man. That's like shooting someone's wedding. Like, you better get the shots. Like, this is not the game you want to be messing up and like, have a dead battery or a full memory card that you forgot to format, that type of stuff. Like that's when you get really nervous. But that's also when, and I don't know if you get this, but like you're kind of removed from the event because you're looking down the lens. Like you're looking down what isn't a human point of view. Because like I'm zoomed in, I was up at the top of the first level, zoomed in on the Nugget stage, and I'm getting like right there. I can see Jokic and his daughter, but it's like it still kind of removes you from it, and you almost kind of have to like, especially during that game, I was like, no, put the camera down for 1 second, watch the celebration, kind of take it in. But yeah, it's mainly just like more pressure during the games of like, okay, I got to get this play, I got to get this shot, I missed this. I missed the last touchdown. I can't do it again. That type of thing. So
yeah, well,
there's not as much. The game goes by so much faster because you're doing so much during it. I guess it would be it.
Yeah, well, and this is a super morbid example, but it reminds me of that scene in American Sniper where the guy, he was asked, why do you look down the whatever it's called, the scope with both eyes open, and he's like, well, because I want to be able to see what's going on around me.
Yeah.
If I'm just looking with one eye into a scope, all I'm seeing is what's in that little tiny field of view. Same thing with cameras. Like if your entire eyes are just looking straight into that,
yes,
then I don't know. But we do have a super chat here that we got to acknowledge on the chat. Lawrence RBE. How do you balance between being a fan and shooting, or are you always in camera mode? What's your most viral photo? What's your go-to camera? So some of that you kind of covered, but encapsulate it a little bit.
So I think being a fan helps me shoot, and that's what I think is kind of where a lot of sports media gets away from, at least the teams they're covering, is when they try and be objective. Like, no, man, like I live in Denver. Like most of the people watching want me to shoot Denver sports teams.
Absolutely.
And again, it helps like knowing the historical things. It helps knowing the fan favorites, right? Like I remember going to like Dallas Mavs Media Day, and I'm like, okay, I know Luka, Kyrie, and Klay Thompson everyone wants to see, but like I don't know who the Aaron Gordon or the Mr. Nugget or the Mr. Maverick is for them. Like it helps to just be in that, and it helps to know like, okay, oh, Jamal Murray's here, like let's go there. It helps to know that people like Peyton Watson, it's people like Christian Brown, people like Travis Hunter. Like you have to watch like the buff shows to know like, wow, there's like a lot of people that like a lot of the players on the team to get them all, like Jimmy Horn, LaJohntay Wester, all of them. And so I think, again, leaning into the fandom, it's not so much like I'm just trying to like watch the games. Like, I don't think it's ever been that for me. It's just as a fan, I want to represent and show what I, as a fan, would want to see on there. And that's like when it comes to like awesome camera shots, like I want to be in the huddle. I want to get the, the player interactions. I want to get, Travis Hunter shooing away Cam Newton, like that's what I want to go for.
Yeah.
And mainly I just want to put the fan in that perspective. Again, that's why I like the wide angles, because it really gives them the point of view of what it was like being there at that moment.
Yeah.
The most viral photo is definitely the Travis Hunter one. I've never had something blow up like that. I had a few Jokic and Jamal Murray shots during the Nuggets game playoffs this year, but that one was just like.
Did we ever see how much, like, what the engagement was on that? Do you like likes, retweets? Like, I mean, because I know it went beyond just your own tweet.
Yeah, I had to. So honestly, and this sounds like so full of myself, but you kind of have to mute them because your mentions are just it's
still
non-stop.
Probably today.
Yes,
still.
It's nonstop. But no, I think it got up to like. I think Jake tweeted out the picture, and because he's a huge Buff Nation guy, and that one had like 30,000 likes. I think Bleacher Report's post had like 65,000 likes. Like it was just it was absurd, and it wasn't just that. It was like my mom sent me the picture. She was like, "Did you take this?" I was like, "Yeah, I did. I didn't."
As a matter of fact, I did, Mom.
Yeah, it's like it's really
Thank
cool
you for noticing
that. So,
is it weird to think that like I mean I don't think it's far fetched to say that at least even through the art of scrolling, probably 1 million plus people have seen your photo. Is that wild to you sometimes?
You can't you can't wrap your head around it. And like And it's like, that's the stuff like you can keep up with, right? That's the one that they actually tagged me in, right? Like, like it's not even like the ones that like just take the picture. It's just really hard to like, you know, imagine that like people like wanted that hanging in their house, you know, and wanted that as their like Twitter photos. And it's just,
it's a picture that could end up in a locker room.
I would hope. That would be cool. I really just want Travis to sign it, especially if he wins the Heisman. That would be really cool.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
But yeah, it's just, it's that.
Love it. I love it, man. Well, I want to ask in just a moment after we get to our next ad break, but I want to ask what your favorite sport is to cover and shoot.
Okay.
And we'll go from there. But before we get into that, we got to give some love to some of our events coming up, because we've got a couple on the list. And I want to talk specifically about the Broncos tailgate that's coming up this Sunday. It's the Raiders game, correct? Am I
the Raiders game. Not only is it the Raiders game, it's the throwback game, guys.
Oh, it is.
All of your throwback gear, the D with the snorting horse on it, get those out. It's going to be an orange out. Oh, it's going to look so pretty.
The Durham Bulls type D, like, you know, I mean, it's going to be an incredible game. The Raiders are in shambles right now with all of their chaos that's happening in their team. Devontae Adams, you know, stuff, all of that's going on. Man. It's going to be a crazy game.
It's going to be so fun.
Also, the Broncos are 500, so
yes. There's something to be excited about.
Yeah.
Like it's not like we were 500 last year with Russell Wilson and we're like, oh, Russ and Sean hate each other. This is not. This really isn't that fun. We know
the tailgate's fun, but everything else sucks.
Dude, the tailgate's so fun.
So yeah, that's the point of this. Is the tailgate? Even though last year, you know, I mean, the games weren't what we wanted them to be. This year, we're excited for Broncos football, and you've got Broncos tailgate starting at 10 a.m. I believe it's around 10 a.m. because it's an earlier game that day. But you can find all that information on thednvr.com/events. We've also got our first Avs takeover of the season next week. I was saying we had our first preseason game, which means nothing yesterday. Takeovers are a blast. Have you shot a couple takeovers for the Avs?
I have, yeah. Those are dangerous because a lot of people like handing you beers on the bus. And then all of a sudden,
your photos
that's when the blurry photos happen.
Do your photos get better after the more you drink?
I don't know better, but you definitely start taking pictures that you wouldn't think about taking. Like,
the creativity is a little better. Yeah.
It gets a little wild.
That sounds like a good time. So if you want to be there at the Avs takeover, again, you can head to thednvr.com/events. Those tickets go fast. I know a lot of people already that are very interested in going. So check that out. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming up here soon. Also want to give a shout out to our friends over at Rugged Road, because at Rugged Road, they are all about creating innovative and durable outdoor gear for adventurers who demand the best. I personally myself love some Rugged Road swag. I'm a big outdoors guy. Go fishing, camping, whatever I can do anytime it's outside, especially this time of year. Fall is in full swing. You got to check out our friends over at Rugged Road. They've got a lot of cool things. They've got, you know, a really cool cooler as well. That's one of my favorites. But all of their different stuff you can find on ruggedroadoutdoors.com. You can use the code DNVR for 10% off your order. It is lightweight, durable, and always floating upright, perfect on land or water. We're talking about their cooler here. So leave that old heavy cooler at home. Get yourself a better cooler for the new season. Rugged Road, your ultimate outdoor companion. All right. We got Ryan Greene in-house here, still with us on the DNVR, on the Denver Sports Podcast. And I got to ask you, what personally is your favorite sport to cover and to shoot?
So at least to shoot, it's basketball. And the reason that is because there's so many highlights in each game. There are, when it comes, like, football is my favorite sport. So, like, I love shooting it and covering those games. But, like, if you are a Broncos fan or if you were a Buffs fan at the end of last year, like, you know that you're going to get a few shots a game.
Yeah.
Like, you better get that one play or you're not going to have much. Like, that's just kind of what it is. So with basketball, you know there's going to be like 10 dunks, you know, some insane three-pointers. Jokic is always going to have a behind-the-head pass, like something like that. So basketball is definitely the best to shoot because there's just so much happening, and I know that people are like, oh, I don't like basketball because there's 100 points, but for me it's like, yeah, that means there's a lot of things to shoot.
Yeah, well, I actually would double what you're saying on that. From a broadcasting perspective, basketball is my favorite sport to call because of the same exact thing. There's so much to talk about. It's not like baseball where you're storytelling for an entire 3 hours game, which I mean, I'm obviously the Rockies guy. Like, I love baseball, but from a broadcasting perspective, it's the same thing. Basketball is never ending. And I also think the amount of cool plays in basketball, like you said, behind the back passes, dunks, like especially dunks, you can almost get guaranteed that you're going to get at least a couple good dunks that you can shoot every game. Hockey is another sport that's really fast paced, but you don't get as many like cool photo iconic moments in a hockey game as you do in basketball.
Hockey's also hard because a lot of white. It's like blows it out. Like,
true. Yeah,
it really messes with some of the sensors. If you want to get ice level, you have to shoot through the glass. Like, that's a whole different thing.
They have those little holes, right?
They have
in
the little
glass
holes, and you have to really like decide when you want to open it and close it.
Try not to get a puck straight to the dome.
I mean, if you do, you better be like hitting the shutter button, because that would be a cool photo of your glass breaking. But and like baseball, like I was saying, like you can like shoot the batter, or you kind of have to wait to see where the ball goes, because it's so impossible to like see the batter hit the ball and then know where it's going, especially if you're in like the photo wells near the dugouts. It's just impossible to know if it's going to, third base, shortstop, skipping to the outfield. You don't know where it's going. Like, baseball's so hard to shoot.
Yes, I was going to ask. So what's your least favorite sport to shoot? Is it baseball because of that?
I would say baseball and hockey. It's not that I have anything against them. It's just there's so much. There's so many other factors to shooting the game than just shooting the game. Like, even the photo wells at Coors Field have a net in front of you, which is great. I've had a few skip right at me, and I'm very happy that they're there. But it will cause just if you're zoomed in, it'll just kick down the resolution just enough to like make you mad. And then again, like hockey, like if you want the fast action, you have to get it down to a faster shutter speed, but then with the white and ice on it, it makes it really blows out the colors. It's so difficult to try and get that done. And also hockey's so fast. It's players are running on every single thing, but they're literally skating 20 miles an hour, flying around, hitting each other. It's so fast.
You have to basically hope that you're getting a celebration type photo for hockey. I mean, that's like all there is.
That's pretty much it. Or like the slap shot, right? Like if you're zoomed out enough, maybe you can see if you zoom out enough for baseball, you can see the pitch, kind of throwing at it. Maybe you can see the puck going, but it's just so tough to. And again, credit to them, because they're elite athletes where they do these things fast enough to where you can't react. Yeah. But those are the toughest ones.
TZ is asking if you've ever been run over on a football field trying to take a photo.
Yes. That was actually one of my. I started out in Montana. And there was one play, I think for Montana State, the Bobcats. They went one way. So I'm in the end zone on the sideline side, and they run to the sideline, and like all the players are starting to, lean out to see where they go. And so I'm losing the guy. And so I start leaning out. Then he decides to go back out down the other sideline, right, and start running. And so I'm in the sideline now, and the referee just takes me out.
Oh, it was a ref.
It was a ref, dude.
Oh, no.
It was a ref. Like, I smashed into his shoulder. Like, the camera was done. I missed the rest of the play because it was just, I was so shocked about what actually happened. It was definitely my fault. It wasn't the ref's fault. I was just like, when you're trying to get the shot on and avoid everyone else, it's just like, that's.
You just got blindsided by the stripes.
You just get blindsided. I've had some basketball players wind up like right into my feet, where I have to like scooch up a little bit. And
I would guess you protect the gear before yourself. Have you evolved beyond that?
Yes, I would protect the gear, but honestly, I would try and get the shot first. Like,
there you go.
I'm a sicko, and I would want this is the moment I got run over shot, right? Like that type of thing.
If I'm getting dropped, I am getting the shot.
That's what I'm saying.
You did say it. Like, if a puck's coming through that little gap, you better get that shot.
Right, I want that
before
shot.
you lose the $5,000 lens on sitting on your camera. That's pretty good. I can appreciate that, and I do think. being in the moment like that, some of the best photos you see are like when you're in the thick of it. I mean, that David Roddy picture being like, a prime example of that. But yeah, it's just chaos. You also do a lot of behind the scenes type of things, not just like shooting live games, but going to press conferences, going to, doing shows, doing vlogs. You kind of do the whole deal. So I want to ask, I mean, is it more exciting for you doing vlogs since that was kind of how you started, or do you like the photography stuff more? What do you lean more towards from a passion perspective?
The photography is fun in terms of like, how do I explain this? It's like a video game, and you just have the list of like things you have to get done, and like it's like you go to a game and you're like, okay, I need this. I want Jokic pictures. You want to get the achievements off the list. But in terms of vlogs, I get the most satisfaction out of those because I think those are really more of an all-encapsulating version of the game that fans can experience. Like, the photos are great to get the shot and get it out and have people like the photo. That's awesome. But if I can get the fan to like feel like they were there and feel like they saw something that they wouldn't have seen anywhere else, and that's what I'm looking to do. I want to put them courtside on the before a Nuggets game where Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon are, hanging out and joking around and all that stuff. And I want to put them, in like the tunnel with the Buffs as they're coming out, of the tunnel. Like that stuff like that is exactly what I'm going for. And my whole point here at DNVR is to take whatever fan of whatever team I'm covering and try and just put them there, because I know a lot of them can't. They can't go to the games. They are out of towners. They are not in the same state. They're doing all this stuff. So if I can give them some type of experience and have them feel like they were actually on the sideline, or like they felt like they were in it and not so much just, they're, especially with television when you have to do like stand-ups and it's you and then they're in the back. Like, it's cool that I'm there, but I don't care that I'm there. Like, people don't care. They want to feel like they're there in the huddle on the sideline, and that's what I'm trying to do for fans.
I mean, you've been at a couple Coach Prime pressers this year, which are chaotic events.
Wild events.
At any perspective, whether you're there as a reporter or shooting it or whatever it is. But I would imagine that those can sometimes get a little, monotonous at times.
Yes.
Usually.
So it's just like, they're long. And again, I love Coach Prime, and they're great. Like, everyone watches them.
Any press conference that you do.
It's just like, and the thing about Coach Prime is, and you saw it with like Orlando, is he is an attraction to everyone there, and everyone like in Orlando, it's their first time.
Yeah.
So like, I know the Coach Prime circus. I know that like they couldn't have it in the regular UCF visitors press conference room because there was too many media trying to get that press conference with Coach Prime. So they had to put it in like a building outside of the stadium. And it's just like great. Like, all right, like I know it's just going to be chaos. I know there's going to be reporters that are just dying to say that they talked to Coach Prime and asked him a question. And it's just like, okay, you didn't really need to ask that.
Coach Prime is the Shohei Ohtani of college football.
Yes, exactly.
Where it's like, it's just, you will have a full press box every time that person is there.
It's awesome that it's Coach Prime, but the circus around him is just sometimes too much, where it's just like, all right, this is insane.
You're like, I'm just trying to get a picture here, some videos.
Like follow me if you want the videos. Like, you guys, there's just so many people there. It was the first time they had like windows outside that like looked out into the parking lot, and they could like see inside Coach Prime. And so there were hundreds of fans outside the windows shooting inside, getting the press conference. It was it's so wild. So yeah, the circus can just get to be a lot. And again, it's such a spoiled position to be in, because we get to cover Coach Prime and Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. Like, how insane is that the CU Buffs have that? But it's just sometimes like, okay, guys, like, come on, this is a press conference on a Tuesday. We don't need this,
He's going up on a Tuesday, man.
Right.
I mean, it's funny because I felt the same way, though, when Shohei was in town with the Rockies, and Shohei's not very public. I mean, Prime is very public in the media. Like, he will put himself in front of any camera he can find. Shohei's the opposite. He tries to get out of the way of cameras. He does not want to be, even in the Dodgers media, he doesn't speak to the media ever. And so you would have like 15 people from the Dodgers media base coming into the Rockies clubhouse after the Dodgers just beat the Rockies like 11-2, and getting up in like Brenton Doyle's face and being like, or they'd go to a pitcher, they'd get up in Kyle Freeland's, hey, you gave up a home run to Shohei Ohtani. What is that like? And I'm like, that would piss me the hell off, man.
Oh my
like
gosh.
that, like it, but that's the, like you said, the circus
That's
around
the circus.
it. It is the circus. That's the way it goes sometimes. So Prime is that effect, and we're lucky to have him.
I know. And you really try and like have the human element, especially in the. This is where I really start to feel for athletes, is that like, dude, I know you don't want to talk to the media. Like,
sure.
like with Nikola Jokic, I'm like, yeah, man, like this is your second language, and you have to do it every game. And every game is how are you feeling now? Or the guys starting to come together, and it's just like, the athletes just kind of get tired of it. It's
totally.
kind of the same questions. But like I'm saying, like Coach Prime will go somewhere else, and that is the first time that media, that fan base gets to ask him questions. But it's the questions we've asked him all, 2 years ago and all that stuff. And The Last Dance, I think you saw it with, when Michael Jordan was on his last year, and it was just, so Mike, you gonna retire? It's like he was just like, I don't know, just I'm playing this game right now. That's a thing down the road, and he just got sick of it. And so you really try and think of the human element of like, man, I bet you don't want to talk to us right now.
Oh yeah.
That helps where I can just be behind the camera and I don't have to ask the reporter questions.
Yeah, you're in a good spot.
Yeah,
you
I'm in
get
a very
to just
good spot, and
capture
just
the
like,
chaos. You don't have to be the chaos.
Yeah.
But I do want to follow up here on something after this quick break. But I wanted to ask you, in a moment, what dream event you wanted to shoot.
Oh yeah,
if there is, and TZ was one step ahead of me on that too. He's on track with that. So we'll get to that in just a moment.
Okay.
Going to pause for a quick break. All right, let's ask you, what is an event that you have envisioned in your mind as something where you could say, you know what, I'm going to Ed Greene and retire it right now after I've gotten to shoot that event?
I think a Broncos Super Bowl would be awesome. Again, I think that would be an event that would be an insane circus, but like the Broncos were the team that I, wanted to cover immediately. That was the team where I would get their Super Bowl VHS tapes and like just rewind it and watch. That's where I wanted the behind the scenes stuff. That's where I wanted the in the huddle stuff, in the locker room stuff. That was so cool to see. And so that's what really sparked my interest. So a Broncos Super Bowl win would be incredible. But in terms of realistic possibilities, a CU college football playoff game right now would be awesome. That would be so cool to see, like Travis Hunter possibly winning the Heisman this year and also going to a college football playoff game and getting on that kind of stage. And I mean, the Colorado Buffs are already the focus of college football whenever they're playing on Saturday. But to have something that means something to that extent, that would be just so cool.
Yeah, I mean, CU is, I think now they've updated the kind of rankings and everything like that. And I correct me if I'm wrong, chap, but if I saw correctly, K-State is the only remaining game on their schedule in which they are not favored. Is that correct?
I've heard that as well.
So
obviously that changes throughout the year. But
it does. But that means that they're, I mean, for a team that started out where you were like, I mean, we watched the first game and you're like, oh God, is this first two games? You're like, I don't really know. I mean, we just and that was part of it coming into this season was we just don't know what we're going to get from Prime. From did the updates to the lineup, did all the recruiting, did that help? Is that gonna roll over? And it's also, I think it's important to remember too that especially in college, like. In a pro sport, we'll go use the Rockies as an example. Like the Rockies can rebuild for 6 years and still have some of the same guys in the lineup and still, before they start to make any improvements. Hopefully next year there's at least some improvements on the team. Fingers crossed on that.
Fingers crossed.
Football, college football, you have to bring in freshmen.
Yeah.
And they need to be ready to go within a year, maybe 2 years max. And so there was all these questions of you recruited pretty well in the offseason, but are these guys, these 18-year-olds going to be ready to play this level of football? And the first 2 games, it was kind of like, oh, we don't really know. They look like they have a legitimate chance. And on top of that, Travis Hunter is as of now, front runner for Heisman.
It's so wild how, again, not only that, but like first round pick, like if Travis and then Shedeur went 1-2 in the NFL draft, I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
It's so insane to think that the CU Buffs, who were 1-11 the first year I was here, now have the best college football player and the best college quarterback on the team. And Coach Prime is the coach. It's so like Rick Ross was on the sideline at the UCF
He was like
game.
in the bus.
Yes, I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
This is like it gets so surreal to see that sometimes. And so, oh man, if Travis wins the freaking Heisman, man.
I'm a little bummed that you guys didn't get Rick Ross in the DNVR Stampede bus. That would have been next level.
That would have been pretty wild.
DJ Khaled was there too, man. You guys had some. You guys had some
find
shots.
him. I was looking for him.
How's that road trip been? I mean, you've been tagging along these last couple weeks. The bus seems like a super cool thing. How's the trip been?
Oh, so the bus was so cool. This was the first week we actually had the new bus with Promotico, and it's so cool to see. I think it's cool because it's our brand on a bus.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that other people really liked it. We pulled up, and UCF's fans were coming to come take pictures with it. It was like wild. They were like making room. They were asking a whole bunch of questions, like, "Oh, what do you do?" They wanted to see the inside because we have the podcast studio in the back, and it was so cool. This trip was where I actually like saw the physical benefit of the bus. And it was after the game. Normally, it's late, and I have been on the field sweating, running back and forth. We've been in the locker room. Alyssa and Jake have been doing all the stuff all day. We're all tired, and then we have to get in a freaking Uber and go back to the hotel. And this one, we got on the bus. It was nice and cool. We could go to the back, lay down. It was dark. Oh, just to unwind on the bus as it took us back, that was a very sweet thing. And it's only getting better. It was a weird week because there was a hurricane going on, so we almost didn't even get the bus down there. Mm-hmm. So these next couple bus trips, we should actually have some players coming up on the bus and a lot more stuff from it. So that should be really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, I will say, I mean, DNVR as a company or, as an organization, like, and you guys probably have noticed this as the fans, being in town, like, we don't advertise on billboards. We don't, that's not the brand of the company. We are engaging with the fans on a one-to-one level. We want to connect with you personally, and we hope that you guys share our content with other people in the sports community here in Denver, and that's how we grow. So this is like the first time in the history of DNVR, an almost decade of DNVR, that it feels like there's like a billboard for DNVR.
Yes.
It's a driving billboard in a way, which is so cool because, again, it's not like we don't do that as a company. And so to see like Jake and RK's face, on the side of a bus.
Dude, we were getting honked at.
Yeah.
And with like people waving CU stuff out of their windows, to think that we're on the highway with people that watch us is so wild. I got to tell you what, man, I've been in television before this for a decade. As you know, I've had a father that has been pretty well known in the town. When I go to Buffs games with the DNVR Buffs guys, they are celebrities to a point that I have never seen before. And it's so funny because it's Jake and RK, and I'm like, really? These guys? You want a picture with these guys? Like, it's
no
so
way.
funny. But seriously, like, Jake gets swarmed at stadiums. People want pictures. It's just so cool to see that what we're doing is actually working here and actually getting to this many fans and resonating this much. We talked to a bunch of fans this week that were like, I feel like I know you guys already. This is probably weird for you because you haven't met me, but I hang out with you guys every day. It's so cool to see that. And so, just to see the DNVR glow up, it's been wild.
It is crazy. And we appreciate you guys as the fans for hanging out with us because it has truly been a pleasure, and we couldn't do it without the fans.
I didn't think I had enough to say in an hour, but look at us.
It's been an hour. I know. It's crazy.
This is great.
It's one of those things where when you go viral by, I think I saw Tori had said like 490,000 people have, engaged with your tweet. We got to have you on TDSP.
Okay. I can do that.
You are now the biggest deal in this building.
Dang.
Yeah, I know. Brandon Spano's out. It's RG running the company now.
I got to one up it at the Rapids game tonight. I don't know how.
Yeah, big Rapids game tonight. I mean, that'll be fun. The Rapids have been great.
Dude, they're so good. It's so wild that also all the I want to whisper this, but kind of all the Colorado sports teams are good right now,
except for the Rockies.
Except for the Rockies, but they're done. The season's over.
They are.
So the Broncos are okay. CU Buffs are doing all right. CU is okay. Nuggets and Habs are starting. The Rapids are doing well. Oh, it's a fun fall, folks. It's a fun fall.
I remember saying this when we moved here. The Avs were going to the Stanley Cup when Marissa and I had just moved. It was the year the Avs went to the Stanley Cup. The Nuggets were obviously in a playoff window, although they wouldn't go to the championship till the next year. The Broncos got Russell Wilson right after I came here. And I remember saying out of the 3 out of the 4 major sports here of the professional sports are in their prime.
Yes.
And assuming that Russell Wilson would have worked out and feeling like this is like the greatest time. And obviously things have changed. The Broncos had to go through some growing pains and that kind of stuff. But you're right. It is a exciting time to be a Denver sports fan. It's why we have the Denver Sports Podcast.
Yes, so we can talk about all this.
Talk about all this chaos.
Go watch the Rapids. They're so fun this year. Chris Armas is an incredible head coach that all the guys are behind. Our Rapids show is killing it.
Hey, yeah, Mitch, are the Pids going to win tonight?
Yes.
He says yes.
It's at ALLCITY. That's going to be tough. But
it's going to be a tough game.
Again, the Rapids have been outperforming themselves all year, so why not? Why not them tonight? So they're really good.
Why
after
not us?
losses.
Mitch says they're good after losses. You got to check them out. DNVR_Rapids. They have you covered with all the great coverage there. RG's got you covered with all the great photos. And we have you covered with all the great Denver sports content. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. That's going to do it for us. RG, thanks for joining us, man.
Oh, this was fun. I love this show.
It's a great,
Have me on
great
anytime.
show.
Even if I don't go viral, please.
Yeah, it's a little behind-the-scenes look at how things go here at DNVR. But again, thank you to you guys, the fans. If you can, give us a like, give us a subscription, a subscribe on Twitter, or on YouTube, I should say. Give us a follow on Twitter. You can follow us at DNVR_sports. Shout out to our producer, Alyssa, who I know is holding down the fort on a short-staffed producer line this week. You guys are crushing it. I am Christian Saez. This is Ryan Greene. Thanks for joining us this weekend from the Toyota Lounge. We'll see you guys next time on the Denver Sports Podcast.